you've hit the nail on the head. Like, how do we do this in a way that appeases the ego without letting the ego survive un, unexpanded? Because that's what this is. This isn't about killing the ego, or even, it's really not even about diminishing the ego. It's about expanding the ego out into the relational space that's around us. That's ego expansion. And which is different from ego inflation. So it's not about saying, oh, you're right, you're great, you're doing everything perfect. That's ego inflation. And it's easy to pop an inflated ego. But an expanded ego takes on the resilience of the ecosystem that it's expanding into. Do you see what I mean? So it's not even about challenging people's ego. It's about inviting them into an expanded ego that's in a right relation with the ecosystems that it's in.
Agreed.
Um, that was awesome, Rich. That's a good one. I don't want to speak over that. That expanded versus inflated is a really good way to think about it. I just wanted to point out that there's a distinction between so Jacqueline, you just kind of talked about the how we embody Oika and these concepts and these principles and this like expanded ego, and how that helps us move through any of the work that we're doing. Like that's one part. And then the other part is sharing that work. And so these are two kind of not separate, but I just wanted to kind of clarify that like there is the whole like how do we get other people as excited about this stuff as we are, and how do we share this as educators, as artists, as writer, as whatever. Like that is part of the question. I think before that comes how do we live this, how do we be this. And so like when you mentioned the path of least resistance, Jacqueline, I think like there's a lot, like we could have such a great conversation about like well Oika kind of it is right, like yeah, don't go towards the resistance, but there's actually ways to kind of adapt and bob and weave and like using this intelligence to then kind of figure. So I just wanted to kind of make the distinction, like these are again not separate, but along a continuum, conversations that we can be having about how do we communicate this stuff, how do we share this stuff, also how do we become it such that the doing it in the world remains like a joyful experience for ourselves.
There's a difference, I think, between sharing it and sharing in it. And I'm here to share in it. I'm here to share in the creative life force with people like you when we can access it to get. That's my goal. Your goal might be to share it, meaning share it with people, express it through your art, through your work. But I have to be honest. I'm here to find people to share in it, in this beautiful world. And if we can communicate it through that sharing in, so all the better. But I'm in this to share in it with you and whoever else comes along. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, Just.
No, that's a good distinction that actually ties in. You were saying something earlier that was, I think, what I was going to say, but in a different way. And you talked about expanding. I was just going to give an example of where I've had this exact challenge that Jacqueline is talking about. And it may not be one to one, so take what I'm saying in your own context, and it may or may not work. But I had a project in the Maldives where the entire island was supposed to be about wellness, but you have net worth individuals going there that are used to never being told no, right? So how do you tell somebody you can't smoke on this island if you're a billionaire smoker, right? How do you tell them you can't have alcohol if you're a billionaire that drinks? So what we did was what Rich was talking about is people with those perspectives have small perspectives wrapped right around their knowledge. We had to expand the perspective. And so instead of saying no, instead of saying there's no alcohol, we brought in biodynamic wines. Instead of saying no smoking, we prohibited any cigarettes or anything coming on, but we had natural tobacco, roll your own stations, the whole bit, right? So we had distilled alcohols that were organic and biodynamically created and things like this. So what we did is we expanded not only their perspective, but our own. Instead of saying no, 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 and curating everything, we just said, okay, what if? So what would fit within our idea of what wellness is,
Mm-hmm.
and what could we exchange? And I'm all about exchanges when I'm talking about people who are resistant. I don't want to eliminate or withhold, because then they're going to put up their guard.
Yeah, so I think there's analogs to that in everybody in everything we do. But what I hear when I hear you saying that, especially with the first example you shared about the smoking and the what you actually did, what I hear is the difference between a right relationship with the activity or whatever, or the substance or whatever, and a not right relationship. You know, to just go and take a Marlboro and smoke it and flick it and whatever. That's a different relationship with the tobacco and the smoke than if you learn about the leaves and get into
Right.
the phenomenology, the lived experience of what it actually means to like do that. It's a beautiful thing if you do it right. That's the difference between right
Exactly.
relationship and wrong relationship. And so you set it up intuitively in what you were doing. So
Exactly.
yeah, and that's the kind of thing like that applies to any creative endeavor that we're doing.